Hello and welcome to the written composition portion of the EOC Prep video series. I'm Mrs. Danish, your narrator for today, as well as your English teacher who's going to help you ace this essay, or at least get like a 2 or a 3. 4 is the highest you can get on this, 0, obviously the lowest. Generally, you get a 0 if you don't write anything. As I stated in the previous video, the written composition is worth half of your grade, meaning it is important that you write this essay. Even if it's not the best essay that you've ever written, writing something is going to do you more favors than writing nothing. So, when you come to the written composition section, you are writing a persuasive essay. It's important to mark that because if you're taking the English 1 test and the English 2, that's the biggest difference between the two tests. English 1 is expository, meaning you are just giving information, but English 2 is persuasive. So you are trying to convince somebody about something. The way that the test is structured is something that confuses students, and so let's look at that before we get into the actual drafting of the essay. First, you're going to have a statement that says, read the following quotation from legend Babe Ruth. Gives us his time of life. This is not what you are writing about. This is just telling you to read that. You are not given instruction to do anything else with this information other than to read it. So read it, because that's what the directions tell you to do. Then we have a statement. Babe Ruth believed that a team could be great only if its individual players were willing to work together. Think carefully about this belief. So again, what are you doing with this information? You're just thinking about it. You're not writing about it. So we are thinking about what Babe Ruth believed. That's an ugly little arrow, but it'll work. So we read, we think, and now we write. So this whole, whoops, let's make that better. Yeah. This is our writing task. So it says write an essay stating your opinion. So the essay should be your opinion on whether it's better to succeed individually or as a part of a team. You want to make sure that you focus on the right. We are writing an essay stating your opinion on whether it's better to succeed individually or as a part of a team. So the first thing you need to do is pick a side. What most students do is they write to both sides, but because this is a persuasive piece, you have to pick just one side. And that's usually the hardest thing. But if you take the time to plan your essay, then you can pick the side that you have the most information for. Before we get into the planning, though, again, we're just identifying what is your task. What you are going to be scored on is the writing an essay, but also this part right here that says be sure to. So this is like your cheat sheet telling you what you are going to be assessed on. State your position clearly. So clearly means you have picked a side. State your position, stating your opinion. Same thing. Use appropriate organization. This is looking at the structure. Do you have it as a cause and effect? Problem solution. Is it detailing information? What is your organization? You don't want your essay to be all over the place. It should not read like you just did some word vomit on the page and hope that it all makes sense. You got to put some organization to it. Provide specific support for your argument. Specific support. This is so important. If you make an opinion, it's not enough to just give your opinion. You have to give support. In the English 2 classes, we've been looking at the types of evidence, your empirical evidence. So that's numbers, statistics, research. You probably won't have too much of that because you aren't doing research on this. You have your logical evidence, cause and effect. This leads to this. Problem solution. Here's a problem. Here's how we can solve it. Giving that type of support is going to strengthen your argument. And it also helps if you've got your organization figured out. Anecdotal evidence, which is where most students feel comfortable, that's where you're sharing your own personal stories. That's good. You can do that. Just make sure that it doesn't turn into a story that's all about you. You don't want to just focus on yourself because, yes, it is your opinion, but your opinion needs to be based on evidence. Choose your words carefully. Do not use the same words over and over and over again. Also, don't go into the thesaurus and find synonyms for all of the words to try and make it sound more academic. It should sound like you're writing. It should sound like it was written by a high school student or someone who's pretty good at writing, but it doesn't have to have a lot of fancy words in it. The words do need to be specific. They should be well chosen, but changing out words to make it sound smarter actually may confuse the meaning. So don't use words if you don't know how to use them right. And finally, edit your writing for grammar, mechanics, and spelling. So looking at your sentence structure, do you have run-ons? Do you have fragments? Did you use the right verb tense? Do they match? Is it all past tense? Is it all present tense? Keeping that in mind. Did you spell your words right? With spelling, if it's one of those commonly misused words, like the difference between there, and there, if it doesn't distract too much from the meaning of what you've written, then you're not going to get dinged for it. But if it's spelled so terribly wrong that a person can't figure out what you're trying to say, that's going to be an issue. So you do want to use those strategies from the revising and editing section of the test to go back and edit your own writing to make sure it's clear and makes sense. So now that we have broken down what it is you are being asked to do, it's time to start planning. If you're using the paper or if you're taking the test on paper, you're going to have 2 whole pre-writing pages. It even says use this pre-writing page to plan your composition, and you're given 2 pages to do it. Use those pages. Those pages are going to help you make sure that you have done what needs to be done. You can do a rough draft, you can plan out your ideas, you can do all of the things that you need to do. I recommend that you give yourself about an hour for the writing part of the test. You have 5 hours to take the test. Nobody is going to rush you unless you're at hour 4 and it's 59 minutes. Give yourself an hour to write this because persuasion is a little bit harder and you do have to do a little bit more thinking and brainstorming to get your ideas together. So let's look at how to approach the writing of this test. Because this is an essay where you're writing about your own opinion, you want to figure out where your opinion really lies. So the first thing that you should do is pros and cons, or make some kind of chart to figure out where you have more background knowledge so you're writing to something that you understand. So if we're writing about whether it's better to succeed individually or as part of a team, maybe you have some background information on that. So what I recommend you do is make like a T-chart, and you're going to list out your evidence. So we have team, so here's a list of my team versus individual. So again, you want to do something like this where you have a T-chart to help you visualize where you have the most background information. So looking at the 2 of these, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Apparently I have stronger feelings about being an individual. Now remember, it's my opinion or your opinion on whether it's better to succeed individually or as a part of a team. Looking at the information that I have for team, it looks more positive than the information that I have for working individually. You do have to pick a side. So I'm going to pick side team. So I'm going with the side team. Now I need to state my opinion on, is it better to succeed individually or as a part of a team? The best way to state your position clearly is to take this portion here that I've got underlined, right? It says part of a team. So whether it's better to succeed individually or as a part of a team, and my opinion. So the hook is a great thing to have in your essay, but it's not a necessary thing. Remember, this is the information that you're going to be scored on. So let's jump right to our position statement, also known as your thesis, and then we can come up with a hook later on if you need to. You can even use some of this information as a part of your hook. But remember, you're not writing about this, you're writing about this. So I would say it's better to succeed as a part of a team because. By saying because, that's keeping me focused on I'm going to give you reasons why it's better to succeed as a part of a team versus individually. In drafting the thesis or the position statement, I'm coming right out and saying what I believe. It's better to succeed as part of a team because. Now, since I have done this T-chart here, I actually have some reasons already that I can write about and support. So from these 4 items here, I'm going to go with support from my teammates and partners to share in the responsibility. So those 2 items are what I'm going to add to the remaining part of my thesis statement. So I've now gone in and written my statement. It's better to succeed as a part of a team because your teammates provide you with support and share the responsibility for everyone's success. I didn't give my entire essay within my thesis statement. I just talked about or identified the 2 things that I'm going to discuss. So once you have that done, now you have your 2 paragraphs or your 2 body paragraphs that you're going to write about. So provide you with support, that's going to be body paragraph 1, and the responsibility is body paragraph 2. Your next task is to write about those 2 ideas and give evidence to support it. I could give evidence about teams giving you support and talk about the San Antonio Spurs and how they have so many assists, and those assists between the teammates has helped them become one of the best basketball franchises in Texas history. That's giving that evidence, and it's explaining how that supports my position. The responsibility for everyone's success, I could keep on going with the San Antonio Spurs and say when Ginobili was having a bad day or a bad game or Duncan was having a bad game, the team would rally together to support them and make sure that they still were able to achieve success. And then maybe give an example of a game where something like that happened. That's something I have information about and that I could explain to support that idea. Now, the last thing that you're going to do is your conclusion. So this is your intro. Then we have our ideas for body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, and your conclusion is where you wrap it all up. This is where you say, I have now proved my point that my opinion is correct. You're not literally going to say that, but you're going to write something that brings it back to the evidence that you gave to support your opinion. So in conclusion could be a way that you end it, or you could say, as I've stated throughout this essay, it's better to succeed as a part of a team because you aren't alone in your success. You share that success with the team, and if I win, everybody wins. And that's bringing it back. We're not doing a call to action here because we're not really arguing. We're just giving our opinion. But if you wanted to, you could say, so join a team and become successful because by yourself, you're by yourself. But with a team, you have everybody with you. Something along those lines. That's going to ask the reader to go out and do something. But you want to make sure that your conclusion is going back to your original position and saying, I've said this, I said what I said, I proved what I said, mic drop. That's what your conclusion should be. If you use your second page to do a draft of the full essay, that's going to help you to make sure that you are able to revise and edit, use the most appropriate words, and make sure your organization is correct. If you use those strategies, I guarantee you, you're going to do a pretty decent job on your essay. And that's what we're looking for, because this is half of your score. Good luck, and I'll see you around the campus.